Published 0707, EDT, 2 November 2017. Updated 0919, EDT, 2 November 2017. Kay Benstead, 60, is suing her friend after she broke her arm and hip when her Alsatian pulled her to the ground. A woman who successfully sued her friend for £115,000 after her dog pulled her over in the park broke her silence today to say she regretted that the case had gone to court. Kay Benstead broke her hip and arm when she was dragged to the ground by her former colleague Anne Finney's 3-year-old German Shepherd, Lily. She won the compensation after her friend had thrust the dog lead into her hand when she wasn't ready to go and buy them some drinks. Today 60-year-old Mrs. Benstead said she felt no animosity towards her friend, and regretted having to go to court. Speaking to Mail Online, she said, "I had to take 7 months off work because I broke my hip and the top of my arm. I was reduced to living off sickness pay. That is why I made a claim against Anne's insurance." But Anne was given advice not to settle. Her legal team told her not to admit liability. "I wish the case had not gone to court, but because of Anne's legal team there was no other way." The fall happened in Trent Park in Enfield, where Mrs. Benstead was walking her own dog, a 12-year-old cockapoodle called Freya. She had the lead thrust into her hand before she had the chance to decline. The loop tightened around Mrs. Benstead's fingers and she fell backwards. Anne Finney, 76, pictured, has been accused of thrusting her dog's lead into Mrs. Benstead's hands. Mrs. Benstead added, "I didn't have a chance to say no, and I didn't have the opportunity to let go of the lead which was put into my hand. It was then that I was pulled back and injured, and made a mistake by putting her dog lead around my hand without telling me." A German Shepherd weighs between 3,000 and 40 kilograms and are very strong. You have to be experienced and know what to do to handle such a big dog. But I feel no ill will towards Anne. We all make mistakes. A judge found her friend Mrs. Finney had been negligent in handling the excitable dog and ordered her to pay her damages. Judge Peter Wellwick said the pensioner should have known the young, large and lively German Shepherd might injure her friend. Mrs. Benstead had only ever stroked Lily once, when she was a puppy, and would never have agreed to hold such a large animal, she said in her evidence. The judge said the weight and force of the dog was too great and she fell over. Mrs. Benstead told the court she felt immense pain when the dog began to pull the lead, twisting her arm behind her back. In her damages claim, she said Mrs. Finney had not asked her to take the dog, and if she had, she would have refused. But in her evidence during the trial this week, Mrs. Finney claimed her friend had a chance to say no before the dog was handed over. The friends stopped for coffees and snacks at a cafe in Trent Park, Enfield, North London. Pictured, the judge went on, "I find that Lily's lead had simply been thrust into Mrs. Benstead's hand, without any prior discussion. She didn't tell the dog to sit or stay. She didn't ensure that Mrs. Benstead was sitting down before leaving Lily with her." Mrs. Finney appears to have headed off to the cafe without ensuring that Lily was handed over to Mrs. Benstead safely. She didn't anticipate that, in handing over the dog in the way she did, physical injury might well result. "In my view, she should have done so.